Hi, this is Jim Janossy. What you see here is a graphic timeline that I've arranged in a way that seems to make some sense to me, but then again, it may just seem like a squiggly line to you. What I've done here is to put some illustrations in just to give you a time perspective. The scale here is not linear. This is just arranged in a way that seemed to fall nicely on the page. Notice that there are some time points here in red with numbers in them. Those numbers correspond to videos that I've located or created for you talking about things that might have happened in the vicinity of that particular dot. For example, here we have something in the vicinity of 1830. About that time, Charles Babbage was inventing this mechanical machine, the difference engine, and a video that I'll show you in connection with this shows you how a machine built around 1990 based on these plans actually worked. So you can see a little bit more about how a mechanical computer from way back 1830 might have worked had it been built in that day. Here we have another dot, number 2. This deals with the invention of the electric light, which actually had something to do with the way computers developed, because the electric light eventually led to experiments with that sort of a device that produced the vacuum tube, a control component in early electronics that was used in the earliest of the computers. Finally, you follow this line along. Here's some developments in television all the way back in the 20s, gave us the kinds of screens which you see here. The little screen that is a cathode ray tube was eventually used to display the image formed by a special camera that could dissect the image, and the cathode ray tube would then reassemble it. This, of course, became the display for early computers. Here in the 30s, you're going to see a video with Alan Turing's Turing machine, which was originally a theoretical machine that demonstrated the kinds of computations that could be accomplished mechanically, eventually being implemented not very much later in electronic computers. Interesting video here that you'll be seeing that shows how Turing's machine was actually implemented by a very clever engineer quite recently to demonstrate a working machine of the type that was only described theoretically leading up to the development of actual computers. These inventors you'll read about in some of the materials that are provided in this section. These are all early developments. Janossy and Berry with a computer that actually did some of the types of functions of modern computers using very primitive technology back around 1939. Konrad Zuse, a German working for the Nazis, we don't hear much about his inventions, but he also independently came up with computers that could calculate very interesting things very early on. The Colossus machine was used by the British to break the German code and was instrumental in shortening the Second World War. And the ENIAC, although it was begun during the Second World War as part of a defense effort, was only completed after the war and led directly into the first commercial computer, the UNIVAC. In this era of the 1950s, we have the IBM 650, the first of the IBM commercial machines. Developments that proceed along here you can read about, and there'll be videos highlighting things that happened around the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. In fact, in this area, you've already seen a video in the first unit dealing with the history of the chip, which picks up from around this time forward. Notice one thing here. The Internet I've indicated as being a development of the late 1960s. The Internet is the interconnection capability that provides the way for various kinds of traffic to be communicated with a technique known as packet switching. Over here, though, was the World Wide Web developed. That's one type of traffic that rides on the Internet. We'll talk more about that in Unit 4 with the lectures that appear there. This whole thing is simply an introduction and a table of contents to those 8 videos. I'll be giving you information about how to access those videos. I will put a list out there that gives you access to all of these 8 videos very conveniently via mobile devices using icons similar to the ones that you're familiar with for other applications. For the moment, however, you can always access these things directly with what I've called a quick link This very short URL, q123.us, is the URL of a website, and the number following here, you simply have to put there the number of the video that you want to see. Through a redirect, you'll then go directly to that video on YouTube. So I would suggest you think about doing that fairly soon. However, at this point, this being April the 14th, I spent quite a good deal of time coming up with this graphic, and I haven't got those videos out there accessible this way yet. So that'll be a development that comes along right here in the middle of Unit 2, about April the 15th of 2011. Look forward to looking at these videos. I think you're going to enjoy them.